Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show podcast. Hello if you're new. So today's episode is going to be a review of Love Island 2020, episode 19. So of course, this episode we are anticipating the dumping. That's really all we're really bothered about. And I guess the continuation of the Luke, Jess and Mike love triangle. Obviously, at the beginning of the episode, people are getting a bit anxious about the pending result. I guess on the text it said the couples that are voted for will be vulnerable, but I think they all kind of knew at this point it was going to be a dumping. And yeah, like I kind of said in the last podcast, I wasn't really sure how they were going to do the dumping, if it was going to be a clean sweep, whether they were going to do a split spill and have the house vote, but obviously we'll talk more about that later. Obviously, key people that are a bit anxious are Mike, basically, saying that he's pretty sure that him and Sophie are going to be vulnerable because, if they're basing it off the text, they're friends. Or if people were playing by the book, then they would be up because obviously people would value romantic couples more than friendship couples. Shanice is also in the confessional saying she's a bit anxious. Obviously, we know she's going to be up at this point. We know she's probably going to be safe. But obviously that was, a cheeky insert by the producers. She said, she hoped everybody voted fairly. She hoped nobody voted tactically. And then also both of the Lukes are talking about the vote with each other, kind of trying to talk about it without revealing who they voted for. Luke is basically saying how he wasn't impressed and how Jess was basically trying to vote tactically, how she was basically trying to save Mike. She wasn't a fan of it. He's still playing that, we had to, vote by the book, we had to follow what the text saying thing, but we all know he just didn't like that Jess was going so hard for Mike. He's complaining about their relationship. He's saying that he's putting a lot of effort in and that Jess isn't. In my opinion, from what I had seen, there had been no effort from Luke, no breakfast, no nothing, no affection. All of the interactions that I have seen from them are them discussing Mike. And that's not to say that Jess has been putting in much of an effort, but I feel like when it's a thing where you are a triangle and you're both fighting for Jess's affection, Jess is automatically going to be on a pedestal. You're automatically going to have to be putting in more effort if you want to be the man on top. So I think at this point, the fight is wearing him down, and the fact that he looks like he's losing the fight is also wearing him down. Because on top of that, Jess has been telling him, I'm focusing on us. I can't trust Mike. But yet she's spending all of this time with this person who apparently can't be trusted. So obviously we have a relatively juicy challenge this episode. The last few challenges have been really dry. I'm not really here for all of these challenges where there's people with carrots in their mouths. I want things that will cause relationship drama, whether that's on a friendship level or a romantic level. But yeah, I was here for this challenge. Obviously, it was the Snog, Marry, Pie challenge. It's become like a kind of staple challenge within the show. Obviously, it starts off with the boys. Callum chooses to kiss Shauna. That's a no-brainer. He chooses to marry Sophie. I kind of thought he was going to choose to marry Sophie, to be honest. Shauna took it well this time, and he pies Rebecca. And I don't even think that was for Shauna's benefit. I feel like he genuinely doesn't like her. I feel like everyone in the house... Well, what I had thought at that point was that a lot of people in the house did not like Rebecca, including Callum. Finley, he kisses Paige, no-brainer. He chooses to marry Shauna, so I'm assuming they get on well. And he pies Shanice, which is interesting. He plays it off as a joke, but I'm always, 50-50 with these ones, especially when I'm not really sure what the nature of their relationship is, because most of Finley's screen time is with Paige. Luke T kisses Shanice, he marries Demi, and he pies Jess. Now, he said, he feels like she's playing around with Luke M. I felt like that was petty there. I feel like Jess has made it clear that she's entertaining both of them. She hasn't made it crystal clear that she is interested in Mike, but she definitely made it clear that she was interested in entertaining them both. That was some petty secondary school style stuff there. Naz, obviously, he kisses Demi, he marries Sophie, and he pies Shanice for the way that Shanice did him dirty. I feel like, even though they get on well, I feel like, every few challenges, Naz, throws a little dig at Shanice, and I feel like he's still pressed at the way that Shanice did him dirty. Because obviously when Shanice told him explicitly that she didn't like him, she didn't say it in a nice way, did she? And obviously Naz is still holding on to those feelings. But, you know, it's been like over a week now. He's found a new girl. He needs to let that hurt go. So Wallace kisses Jess, which is quite interesting. He probably went in for that kiss. I don't think anyone was expecting it. I wasn't sure who he was actually going to kiss her. I knew he probably wasn't going to kiss Rebecca, but I felt like if he was going to kiss someone else, he was probably just going to do like a little peck or something. He marries Paige because, you know, fellow Scots person, and he pies Rebecca. No surprise there. And then Luke M kisses Jess. He marries Demi, and he pies Shanice. He says, you know, the reason why he pied Shanice is because of bro code, all of this stuff. Again, a lot of secondary school language, like what the hell? What kind of a reason is that? And then Mike, of course, he kisses Jess. Very long, lingering kiss there. He marries Demi and he pies Shauna. And I feel like he pies Shauna because Mike is onto Shauna. He knows that Shauna is being fake to him and is bitching behind his back. And he knows that Shauna is probably going to be pieing him. So he just thought, let me get ahead of the pieing. So obviously then it's the girls. Obviously Shauna kisses Callum. She marries Luke M. And then she pies Mike. No surprise there. Obviously Mike pied her back. But after it, they kind of just says, yeah, the beef is squashed kind of thing, playfully. But I know, like, when people are jokingly addressed that the beef is squashed, the beef is never squashed. So Paige, of course, she kisses Finn. She marries Wallace, and then she pies Luke T. She just said she pied Luke T because she thought he was going to do it to her. Obviously, he didn't. But yeah, it was interesting. Maybe she finds Luke T annoying. Shanice, she kisses Naz on the cheek to be nice. She apologizes. You know, I think Shanice knows that she let him down way too harshly. And, you know, maybe because she hasn't actually apologized, that's why she did it there and then, so that they can probably bury the hatchet. I think that's what Naz actually wanted, a proper apology. So I feel like Shanice definitely knows she did him very harshly. And then obviously she marries Luke T, which is very cute, and then she pies Wallace. I'm not sure why she pied Wallace so violently, like to the point where the cream transferred onto Luke M, who was standing next to him. I don't really know. Wallace hasn't had enough of screen time for us to even know his personality. But yeah, that was quite funny though. And then Demi, obviously, she kisses Naz. I don't know who she married. I can't remember. But obviously she pies Callum, and she's saying she pied Callum because she'd never go near him because of, you know, she's Shauna's friend. And again, this false loyalty. You've known these people 2 days. I see your gameplay, Demi. Sophie, she doesn't kiss anyone, I don't think. She married Naz and she pies Callum. But I feel like this was a joke. She wanted to pie her friend. And Rebecca kisses Luke T. Maybe there's some pettiness there. I'm not sure who she married, and I'm not sure who she pied. I wasn't paying attention. If you remember who it is, let me know in the comments. And if I got anything wrong, let me know in the comments as well. And then obviously the final girl, Jess, she throws a spanner in the works and she kisses Mike. That is savage. That is disrespect. And Mike was just standing there. And then obviously she chooses to marry Luke. Like, that's going to make it better. Luke wasn't feeling it. He wasn't having it. And then she pies Luke T for, like, coming for her and calls him a hypocrite. So obviously, after the whole challenge thing, Luke and Jess obviously discuss the situation, and it gets a bit heated and they end up breaking up. But the gist of the thing was, obviously he was saying, you know, that was disrespectful. Jess is trying to defend it. She's saying, you know, it was a challenge and she thought he would be flattered that she wanted to marry him instead of kissing him. And, you know, Luke is just saying, you know, it's muggy behaviour. And I have to side, even though I like Jess and I love the energy, I was living for the drama in the challenge, I have to side with Luke M on this one. It was disrespectful and it was muggy for the simple fact that she has been telling this Luke M guy that she wants to focus on them and that she doesn't trust Mike, and that, you know, and that she doesn't trust Mike, whilst she doesn't trust Mike, while simultaneously entertaining him and giving him her time. I feel like after that whole vote situation, that is when it should have been a time for Jess to be like, look, the dynamic has changed. I feel like I'm really feeling Mike now, like I'm starting to open up to him, and I want to get him to know him more than I have initially let on. I feel like that was the chance to do that, especially before a challenge when when there's a choice to snog somebody. And on top of that, if you hadn't decided you were going to do that yet, if you were going to kiss Mike, you could have left it at peck, you could have put it on the cheek like Shanice did, and then married Luke. Then that would have been a different situation. She was moving very mad. She knew she was moving very mad. And I think it's a thing where Jess does not like this boy, so therefore she has a bit less compassion for his feelings. She kind of puts it down to, well, you know that Mike liked me. You know I had a thing for him. I told you he's my natural type. So why are you even surprised that I have chosen to kiss him now? I think she's kind of moving it like that. I think she's kind of moving that way. Obviously, it was a bit muggy. Luke M was a bit mugged off. But at the end, it was a bit muggy. She did mug Luke M off. I feel like he did have a valid point there. But even before the whole situation, Luke M was moving mad. And I feel like this is obviously just a step too far for him, and this is obviously just the ultimate disrespect now. And this is just like the ultimate disrespect now. She's trying to justify what she did, but she can't really. And they just end up breaking up. And obviously Luke is just like, I see her true colours now, this and that. But I think it was just a thing where you got pied off and, Jess didn't have the decency to tell you before. It was a thing where, I feel like Jess knew she wanted Mike from the very beginning. As soon as he came back up to her and was like, let's restart where we left off. She wanted him in that second, but, she was trying to not look like that stupid girl who ran back to her toxic ex. So she was trying to long it out. And, in that moment, she finally realised, I don't feel anything for this Luke M guy. I want to be with Mike. And she made a rash decision. But what do you guys feel like? Do you feel like Luke had it coming? Or do you feel like Jess crossed the line there? Let me know what you think. So, obviously, after that whole conversation, Mike sweeps in like so smooth. Like not even after 2 seconds the conversation has finished, Mike is already swooping in there. And Mike is already swooping in there. So obviously, Mike is already swooping in there to secure the relationship. And obviously, Shauna, Callum and Sophie are watching from the balcony. Shauna's basically saying, oh, Mike is only using Jess to stay in the game. Something of that effect. And again, Shauna not minding her own business. I feel like that is probably true, but I do feel like Mike does like Jess to some degree. But yes, she's the best option right now, so why shouldn't he go for that? She knows that she is the best option for Callum right now and that he'd probably leave her in a heartbeat if a better option came along. But she doesn't want to be real about that, but yet she wants to be calling out Mike all the time. And I don't think it's a real thing. I think she's trying to nitpick everyone else's gameplay so she can call them out for being a game player, so she looks like a real one, so she can advance her own gameplay. And now she's roped Callum into it because then he now reveals to Sophie that Mike actually liked. And I feel like what was trying to happen there is they were trying to begin the conversation of, well, we know that Mike is just using you, Jess, because he told us that he was going to go for Sophie first. And when that didn't work out, he was going to go to you. And that is what I get a whiff of meddling. I get a whiff of some gameplay going on. Now, Sophie definitely knew that Mike liked her. Obviously, I addressed it in my prior podcast. When Mike came up to Sophie, she already knew what was going on and she friend-zoned that conversation right away. And I feel like that's maybe why there wasn't that big of a reaction, because Sophie knew what they were doing in that moment, because Sophie is also a game player. So she can see that they are game playing. Watch out for them. They are both big game players. Another drama that goes on in the episode is that Shanice learns that Luke T and Rebecca spooned and cuddled after Shanice and Luke T kissed. Obviously, before the recoupling, he was still sharing a bed with Rebecca, and obviously, I guess they were cuddling and they were spooning. And Shanice makes it a big deal, and she kind of feels like she's been lied to. she's been betrayed. They kind of have a little argument about it, but it seems like they kind of sorted it out. In terms of how I think about the situation, I think Shanice has totally overreacted because, again, this is early days in the couple. Second, they're not exclusive. And three, it's just a cuddle, it's just a spoon. I just feel like, of course, cuddling and spooning is an intimate act, yes, but it's not necessarily sexual, it's not necessarily romantic. So therefore, she's now conflating intimacy with romance, and then she's mixing in her insecurity with it and making it a big deal. Obviously, Luke says he can't remember, blah, blah, blah. And I think he's definitely saying he can't remember because he knows instantly that Shanice is pissed off. I feel like Shanice was definitely overreacting, especially since they're going so well, and it's kind of a thing where they're in a couple now. It's not like he's sneaking out of bed and spooning Rebecca. So I don't see why she's making it a big deal. I can definitely understand why, because I know that Shanice is insecure. But it also wasn't a thing where she was being lied to. She just wasn't told. And it's a thing where they probably didn't even think of it as this secret because we're all sharing a room together. Surely you would have seen something, and therefore if you didn't like it in the moment, you would have called it out. So therefore, I just feel like Shanice is making it a big deal, and I can just sense that little things like this are going to come up in their relationship, and there could be trouble in paradise. And I feel like little things like this will be the building blocks of them breaking up, and could perhaps be the building blocks of Luke T turning around and saying, you know what, this is early days, I'm already dealing with this annoyingness, why don't I just find a new girl at Casa Amor? When Shanice and Luke were having that argument, obviously they brought Rebecca to clarify whether they had spooned her. And what I kind of noticed is that Rebecca didn't think that it was an issue to begin with, and she didn't see it as a romantic or intimate thing that Shanice would probably be bothered about. It was only until she realised that Shanice was bothered about it that she now wanted to be like, oh yeah, let's go speak with Luke T together. You know why? Because she lived for the drama between them. I see you, Rebecca. Obviously, next was the couple dumping. We already knew who was up at this point. We knew it was Sophie, Mike, Luke M and Jess, Shanice and Luke T and Rebecca and Wallace. In terms of who I thought was going to be safe, I thought Sophie and Mike were going to be safe, and I thought possibly Luke M and Jess were going to be safe, and I thought Shanice and Luke T were definitely going to be safe. And then Rebecca and Wallace would be going home, or they would split it between Rebecca and Wallace. So obviously the first couple saved was Shanice and Luke T by the public vote, not a surprise there. And the second one saved was Jess and Luke M. I was surprised, but then I wasn't surprised, because I feel like there has been people that like Mike and think he's entertaining, and there's been people that don't like Mike and think that he's doing too much and think that he's even disrespecting Luke. That demographic banded together to vote for Jess and Luke M. So I'm kind of half surprised that they were in the bottom. So obviously the producers have decided that within their individual couples will be voting to save any two individuals from the bottom two couples. Instantly I was thinking Mike might be going, but then I was thinking the producers wouldn't send Mike out. Now that he's offering so much entertainment, so much controversy, I don't think they'd send him home. But, you know, I wasn't 100% either. And I thought Sophie was going to stay. I would have thought Sophie would have had enough friends. So I just thought it was going to be a clean sweep. They were going to save Sophie and Mike. So Paige and Finn go first, and they pick Mike and Rebecca. So it's very clear, obviously, Mike gets on with Finn and Paige. Rebecca, I was a bit surprised about that, because from what I had seen from the editing, it seemed like Rebecca was a loner and nobody liked her. So I guess maybe there's some parts of Rebecca that we're not seeing. Shanice and Luke T pick Mike and Wallace. Again, I'm surprised that Shanice didn't pick Sophie. I thought they were friends. Interesting, because him and Luke T obviously got off on the wrong foot, and obviously Luke T is friends with Luke M, and obviously Mike has been stepping on Luke M's toes. So I was surprised that they saved Mike. But I'm not surprised that they didn't pick Rebecca, because obviously mutually they don't like Rebecca. So next was Shauna and Callum, and they picked to save Sophie and Wallace. That wasn't a surprise there because, Shauna and Callum, they're both very close with Sophie and they don't like Mike, so therefore they would save Wallace. They don't like Rebecca, so of course they wouldn't save her. Jess and Luke T pick Mike and Rebecca. Again, I would have thought that Jess might have had a bit more loyalty to Sophie to choose her. But I think it was a thing where it was, a 50-50 split. Luke T, not leaving Luke T, Luke M. Luke M doesn't like Mike, Luke M doesn't like Mike, but Jess likes Mike, so they're picking Mike. Luke M probably wants to progress things with Rebecca, which is why I said he snitched on Wallace to get in her good books. That's why they saved Rebecca, so it was a kind of like a deal there. And then Demi and Naz, they pick Mike and Rebecca, so it's obviously clear Naz has a close relationship with Mike, and obviously Demi is new, so they pick Rebecca. I guess maybe they have a little bond going on, new girls. So obviously Sophie and Wallace go home. And you know what? I would have liked Sophie to have stayed, but I feel like Rebecca, as much as I'm disappointed with her downfall, she does provide drama. She does. She does provide entertainment. And I think she provides more entertainment than Sophie does. I would have liked if Sophie stayed, but it's not the end of the world for me. Mike, I'm so glad that Mike stayed. If Wallace stayed, I honestly would have been so angry because this Wallace guy is painfully boring. Regardless of what you think of Mike. He's providing entertainment. And if he went, this game would be so boring. Obviously, Sophie and Wallace are on their way out. Sophie's crying. People saying, oh, go get your man. And I can already tell she does not want to go back to Connor. There's obviously been a lot of news that are not painting Connor in the best light. I don't think her family would want her to be with someone like Connor if these allegations against him are to be taken as fact. It's a shame about Sophie. She played a good game, but I guess it wasn't good enough. I guess it wasn't good enough. If I was her, I probably would have gotten a bit more friendly with Wallace. I think she was way too comfortable in being relaxed and being in friendships, and she just thought that, she could wait and relax for her time to come rather than being active like Mike was. So yeah, another person that had a hand in their downfall. I think she's going to be doing good. She already had a following coming out. I'm not sure if she's at brand deal level, but definitely brand ambassador, brand endorsement, brand trip. She's got a business energy, so I'm sure she'll do well. I really hope she does not go back to Connor. That was basically the end of the episode. Tomorrow we know it's Casa, Amor. They gave us a little bit of a snippet, but it wasn't really enough for me to judge. They gave us a little snippet, but it wasn't really enough to judge because all we have right now is the pictures. I'll get into all of the islanders. But yeah, I'll get into all of the new Casa Amor islanders in more detail in tomorrow's podcast. I'm excited for it. I feel like this is what the villain needs. I feel like the drama has been a bit stagnant. It'll be interesting to see how many days Casa Amor was running this year. It's usually 4. Will they make it longer? Whose head will turn? Honestly, I feel like all of their heads will turn. I feel like at the very least, all of them will be cheating on their partners. Maybe not Shauna, but all of them will be cheating on their partners. Coming back with somebody else is a whole different story. I think we'll definitely have to wait and see. On Twitter, people are saying how they're not sure how Rebecca is getting picked over Wallace. Honestly, I was confused as well because I thought that Rebecca was a loner in the house. She didn't really have any friends. I think perhaps maybe she has got friends and we haven't seen that, or maybe it's the producers meddling a bit. I'm glad they picked Rebecca over Wallace because Wallace didn't really have anything to offer, to be honest. He was too normal for the show. He was too normal for the show, and it was just very boring. People are saying Wallace deserved better. I can't believe they chose Rebecca. People are saying that they were right about Jess all along. People are saying Mike has earned his place in Destiny Childish. He was definitely spinning a lot of crowd saying, if Jess left, he would leave with him. What rubbish. That was absolute rubbish. But you know what? I'm here for the rubbish. People are loving Shauna's line, the devil works, but Big Mike works faster. Trust me, Mike is not trying to leave this villa. Mike will be hanging on for dear life. Again, people are mentioning that they understand why Leanne caught the ick. People are saying that Wallace wasn't given a fair chance. People are saying that Connor will be waiting for Sophie at Heathrow Airport. People are saying imagine saving Mike and Rebecca. I've already said my piece on Mike. Yeah, most of the timeline is discussing the vote. For those of you wondering, my handle is at shannonbafundilaenquiries. The link is in the bio if you're wondering. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know what you thought of this podcast. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you have, don't forget to press that notification bell so you know when the next podcast is dropping. Till next time, guys. Bye.